Hey everybody, it's Scott Shetler from Extreme Performance Training Systems, and welcome to Morning Mobility. In today's video, we're going to look at some mobility and flexibility exercises to help with the hips and the lower back. All right, so we're going to begin by taking about a shoulder width stance, slightly wider than your hips. You may need to adjust based on your own personal preference, but we're going to begin by taking our palms and pushing them up toward the ceiling. And as we do this, we want to lean back a little bit by squeezing the glutes. And we want to take a big, deep breath all the way down into the belly as we stretch back. And then we're going to exhale, and we're going to bend forward by folding at the hips, pushing our palms down toward the ground. Let's do that 2 more times. We're going to inhale, pushing our palms up toward the ceiling, even reaching back behind us a little bit. Make sure that as you're going into this back bend position, you're squeezing your glutes to help protect your lower back. And then we're going to take a big exhale and push those palms all the way down toward the ground. Okay, let's go one more time. We're going to breathe in and push those palms up toward the ceiling. And exhale, pushing the palms down toward the ground. Good. Now our second movement, we're going to take our palms, we're going to push to the side. So what we're going to see here is we're going to rotate the hips, and we're going to push our palms down toward the outside of the foot. As we exhale, we're going to breathe in, straighten back up, and then exhale and push down to the other side. Breathing in, raising up. Breathing out, pushing the palms to the outside of the foot. Breathe in and raise back up to the center. Breathe out, push the palms to the outside of the foot. Good. Let's go one more time to each side. Breathing in as we raise up, and breathing out as we push down. Breathe in as we raise up, and then breathe out as we push down to the other side. Good. The next exercise in the series, we're going to get into that shoulder width stance again. Now this time, if you have the flexibility to reach down and grab under your toes, go ahead and do that. If not, you can just rest your hands on your feet. And if you don't have the flexibility to get all the way down, just rest your hands on your knees or lower down on your shins as far as you can go. But what we're going to do is we're going to bend forward, and we're going to grab the bottoms of the toes if we can. All right? And we're going to breathe in. And as we do, we're going to sit down into a squat, and we're going to look up toward the ceiling. Now as we breathe out, we're going to straighten the legs, stretching out the backs of the legs and the lower back. Again, breathe in, squat down and look up. Breathe out, straighten out the legs and stretch. Breathe in, squat down and look up. Breathe out, straighten the legs and stretch. Let's do a few more reps. Breathe in, squatting down, looking up. And breathe out, straighten the legs and stretch. 2 more reps. Breathe in, squat and look up. Breathe out, straighten the legs. And 1 more, we're going to breathe in, squat down and look up. Our step back as we look up. And exhale, straightening the legs. Now we're going to squat down again. And this time, we're going to stand up out of the squat. It's very important that we don't try to raise the body up from that bent over position. Now we're going to move down to the floor into what's called a kneeling hip flexor stretch. So we're going to begin by putting one knee on the ground, and then the other foot we're going to put out in front of the body so that the shin is sloping down at kind of a forward angle. From this position, we want to push the hips forward while pulling back on the chest. So we're kind of creating a bow with the body. All right, so on that same side that we're stretching, we're going to reach that hand up into the ceiling, and then we're going to twist away from the stretching leg. And we're going to hold this position for 3 deep breaths. Good, pulling back on the shoulders and chest. And 1 more deep breath. Good, now we're going to increase the intensity of the stretch. We're going to bring that front foot back a little bit. And with the opposite arm, so right now I'm stretching my left leg, so I'm going to take my right hand and I'm going to reach back and grab that left foot. Now as I do this, I'm going to push those hips down toward the ground, pulling the chest up. And this is going to bring the stretch deeper into the quad. Raising that chest up, again, bowing the body for a couple more breaths. Good. Now we're going to release that foot and we're going to switch over to the other side. So for me, I'm stretching out my right leg this time. The left leg goes forward. Again, that shin is going to have kind of a downward sloping angle as you do this. We're going to push those hips forward and down as we pull the chest back and up toward the ceiling. Again, creating that kind of bow through the body. Now, once we get to the deepest stretch position, we're going to take the arm on the same side we're stretching, and we're going to push that hand up into the ceiling. And then we're going to twist away from the leg that we're stretching for 3 deep breaths. Remember to pull the chest and the shoulders back, almost as if you're trying to face the chest up toward the ceiling. Good. Now we're going to place the hand on the ground as we take the opposite hand, reach back to the foot of the leg that's being stretched. And now we're going to push those hips back down toward the ground while pulling the chest up to increase the intensity of the stretch. So we're going to feel this a little bit further down into the quad, closer to the knee. Let's take a couple more breaths. Good. We can go ahead and release that leg. Now we're going to move into a frog stretch or a frog rocker stretch. So kneeling down on the ground, we're basically going to allow the knees to push out to the sides as if we're doing a straddle split. Once we get into a pretty deep stretch, you're going to feel this in the hips, on the inside of the hips. You don't want to push into any extreme pain or anything like that, but you do want to feel the stretch. So you're going to have to judge that for yourself. I generally tell people I'm working with to take maybe about a 3 or 4 out of 10 on the pain scale. So it shouldn't be excruciating, but we should feel a little bit of a pull in those muscles. Now, once we get into this kind of straddle position, what we want to do is roll the hips forward and then push the hips back toward the feet. This is kind of a prying action that we're applying to the hips to help force the hips to open up and loosen up. This is a little bit more effective than just dropping down into a straddle stretch and trying to hold that position. You're going to find that as you pry and open up the hips, they're going to release a lot faster than just doing that sort of static straddle position. You can even twist a little bit to the side as you push the hips forward and backward. Again, thinking of prying the joint loose. A couple more breaths as we do this, making sure that you're breathing in and out, nice, deep, and relaxed. Good. Now for our next exercise, we're going to take it over onto the back. So we're going to begin by placing the feet on the ground so there's about a 90-degree bend in the knees. And we're going to have the feet about 8 to 12 inches apart. So we don't want our feet close together. So maybe the feet are about hip width apart as we do this exercise. Now we're going to take the knees and we're going to drop them side to side, rolling the hips as we do this. Now you just want to use a gradual, controlled motion, making sure that you're breathing in and out in a relaxed manner as you do this exercise. And you want to make sure that as the knees are going over to the side, that the opposite shoulder is not coming up. So as I'm rotating my knees to the right, my left shoulder should still be on the ground. If you find that the shoulder's raising up, you need to reduce the range of motion because you're not getting any mobility at that point. You're just simply rolling your torso to the side. So make sure the shoulders are down as you're rocking the knees side to side. And then we're going to finish this one. As we take the knees over to the left, we want to hold and let the knees drop to the side and relax so we feel a stretch on the outside of the right hip. Let's take a couple deep breaths and allow that hip to stretch. And then we're going to rotate the knees over to the right, doing the same thing. Just let the knees relax to the right side, this time stretching out the left side of the hip. Take a couple deep breaths as you're in that position. Good. Now we're going to come up to a sitting position and we're going to do a butterfly stretch. So here we're going to bring our feet together And you can take your hands and pull those feet back towards your hips. And then just hold those feet together as you allow your knees to drop to the side. So you're going to feel a little bit of pull on the inside of the hips. Make sure that you're just taking a few deep breaths as you do this exercise. Deep, calm, relaxed breathing is what we want to do when we're doing these stretches. If you find that you're stretching and there's a little bit of pain and you start taking short, shallow breaths, it's just going to keep the muscles tight. So make sure that you're breathing really deep, relaxed, and natural as you do these stretches. Now we can increase the difficulty of the stretch or the intensity by pulling our chest down toward the ground. You're going to feel a little bit more pull on the inside of the hip as you do this, maybe even into the lower back a little bit. Let's take a couple more deep breaths as we deepen the stretch. Good. Now come out of this nice and slow. And we're going to take this one down back to the ground with an outer hip stretch. So laying back on the ground, what we're going to do is we're going to take the left leg and we're going to relax it over the right knee in kind of a figure four position. Lift the right leg off the ground so that we're pushing back on the left leg. Now there's a couple ways you can increase the stretch here. You can either grab the left leg and pull back as you push back with the knee, or you can reach through, grabbing behind the right hamstring or below the right knee onto the shin if you have the flexibility to allow that. And then gently pull back. And what we're going to see is we're going to have a big stretch on the outer part of the left hip. So take a couple deep breaths as you're stretching that hip out. Good. Now we're going to slowly place the right foot back to the ground, and we're going to switch. We're going to put the left foot down, cross the right leg over the left knee this time in that figure four position, and then we're going to raise that left foot up, pulling the right leg back. And again, you can either grab onto the right leg behind the knee and the foot and pull, or if you have the flexibility, you can reach through, grabbing the back of the left hamstring or the left shin below the knee. Once you have a comfortable position to grab, you're going to gently pull back on that leg to increase the intensity of the stretch. Again, making sure to breathe calmly and relaxed as you do these exercises. Good. We're going to release that left foot, allowing it to go back to the ground. And then we're going to take it up to a 4-point stance or a 4-point position. So we're on the hands and the knees. And to finish up this back and hip series, we're going to do some cat-camel stretches on the spine. So we're just going to loosen up that spine by raising the head and the tail up and then dropping the head and tail toward the ground, basically making C's with the spine. If you follow these videos, you're going to see that the cat-camel spine stretch is one that we're going to do quite a bit because it's very good for spinal health. Again, make sure you're breathing calmly and relaxed as you do this exercise. Yeah, let's do a few more repetitions. Raising the head and the tail up, and then dropping the head and tail down as we reverse the C in the spine. Good. All right, everybody, that wraps up today's morning mobility series. Hopefully you're liking these joint mobility exercises and these stretches that we're doing for your morning mobility exercise. Again, joint mobility is a great thing to do to improve the health and longevity of the joints, as well as helping to kind of kick those aches and pains that we get on a daily basis. So until the next video, stay healthy.